Oh, gotta turn your mic on. There we go. Hello, everyone. How are you this evening? I am going to be talking all about how you can save a ton of time in Xactimate using this one-click option. You can actually write an estimate, pretty much the whole thing, in one click. And that's what I'm going to be talking about tonight. I'm going to show you a couple different ways you can set up this tool, and it's going to be a really fun time. So for those of you that are here, I'm going to jump right in and get started, as I think this is really important for us to talk about. And not only how to save time, but it also will save you money. Well, not save you money. It will get more items added to your estimate than you might otherwise think, because it acts like a checklist. So the tool that I'm talking about that basically can write your estimate in one click is called a macro. And a macro is just a fancy way of saying lists of line item. And I love macros. They simplify everything and just make it so much easier to write an estimate and then not forget and leave items off. For some reason, I always chronically would leave off chimney flashing when I was writing for a roof estimate. So just as an example of what a macro is, here I have on my screen, and let me go ahead and get my comments up. I can see, hi Rita, good to see you. Nice of you to be here. Anyways, so if you can see my screen, I've got my estimate written. This is all the adjuster paid for this roof, let's say, just as an example. And we're going to go ahead and add a macro to show him everything that he needs to pay for the roof. So here's my list of macros. I have about, I think, over 80 macros that I use. And I'm going to use the one, I'm so organized and dialed in with my macros that you can see for the laminate shingles, I have laminate for adjuster meeting, laminate for Eagle View, which is separate, laminate for a gambrel roof, because it has its own special line items. I used to have a laminate for Florida because they have a couple special line items that not many places other in the country ask for those things. So I can really dial in and get specific with these lists of line items and keep myself super organized. And that way, again, I don't leave line items off my estimate that I should be adding and might forget. Good to see you too. Dorothy is here as well. Awesome. Okay, so what I'm going to do is select the line where I want the macro to live, and I'm going to use the laminate for supplement. And I'm going to allow duplicate items because let's say the adjuster only paid for 25 squares on the roof. And this goes for any trade. Let's say you paid for 100 square feet of drywall. I would then ask for the extra 50 feet of drywall or the extra 5 squares of roofing on my supplement line. So that's why I allow duplicates, so that I'll have line items to pick up, where he didn't pay in full for those quantities. So then, like I said, this acts like a checklist. It's awesome. All I have to do is go down and see what I need applied here. Now, we don't need 30-pound felt, so I'll delete that off. We need ridge starter and valley metal, but we don't have the W profile, so I can delete that. We do have turtle vents, but no split boot. As you can see, I can use this again. It triggers my memory to go look at the photos and say, okay, do we have a rain cap that's damaged? Do we have chimney flashing? Like I said, I always left chimney flashing off for some reason. Do we have step flashing? You get it. Are there skylights? I can look at all the photos and look at my list and compare. And now it acts like a checklist so that I don't forget in the future, what I'm doing. So all of that to say, you should be starting today, saving your macros and using them. So Delina, how do we build a macro? Super, super simple. In fact, you can go to past estimates, say, man, that was such a great estimate I wrote for that metal roof. I need to save that for future. Go back and pull up that estimate. You can save that line item list as a macro. But I'm going to build one for you just really quickly here. I don't want to take up too much of your time this evening. And I do save my macros with 0 quantities, and I'll show you why in just a second. But let's just add a few line items here, just like this. And let's see, we had some drip edge. I would, of course, make the whole list of everything I could possibly add for a laminate style roof. And then to save the macro, all you need to do, so I'd make my long list. This isn't it. There's probably 60 other items I need on this list. But for now, for sake of time, you're going to hit Control A on your keyboard, which will select all. Okay. And then what we're going to do is you'll see the button Save Macro pops up. So there we go, Save Macro. And let's say I have a test, I'll just name it Test Laminate for tonight. And then you'll see here line item customizations and include attached notes. So those are two important checkboxes for many, many reasons. If you go back to my roofing macro, anywhere when I'm supplementing, what I do is I add the code and why I'm asking for that line item. So for the 15-pound felt, I quote the IRC code and I tell them this is why I'm asking for this, and it's included as a line item. Excuse me. If I went ahead and saved this macro and did not check this box, include attached notes, all that beautiful work I did on all my wonderful line items where you see the number 1, they would all disappear. Okay, so don't do that to yourself. When you click to save the macro, go ahead and click the include attached notes. However, save line item customizations, do not click that unless you want it to save your pricing, because that's what it's going to do. So today is April 2021. Let's say I pull out this macro in September of 2021 and prices have doubled. Probably not likely to happen, but you get the idea. All my April pricing would apply to my September estimate, and that would be a bad deal just because I clicked this one box. Okay, so don't be like me and be a dummy and do that to yourself. I would say just avoid that. And then I always get asked, what is shared? So if you're on a network with other Xactimate users, like you're in an office that has 20 estimators and you're all linked on a network, that's where shared comes in. Doesn't matter if you're a single user, you can share in a different manner. So it doesn't matter that shared isn't available here. You can always data transfer it out like you do an ESX file. You just data transfer the macro out. Super simple. So don't worry about shared. In other words, that's what that means. Right. Some other tips on macros. Let me show you what we're giving away tonight. Oh, hey, Doug. Yep. I don't mind being called a nerd. I am openly okay with that. In fact, I would call myself the same thing. But tonight, yes, I am a nerd with my macros and proud of it because it saves me so much time. Tonight, we're giving away I think we're giving away one of those macros, the laminate ones that I showed you. It won't be the one for Gambrel, sorry. It's one of the other ones, I think, for like supplementing. So if you text time to the number down below, we will be sending you that macro, and it's a beautiful thing. So definitely want to get a sample macro because I just showed you how to save a macro, and then you can kind of format it after what I've already created for you if you text time to that number. So that is what we're giving away tonight. So be sure to do that if you're interested in seeing one of my macros that I've taken the time to cultivate. And these are the same line items that I would write estimates for in my supplement company, where we made over $400,000 in supplement money alone in 1 year using these types of tools and tactics that I'm showing you. So super exciting stuff that can really move the needle in your business if you get organized like this. One other thing I want to note real quick, and then I'll address your question, Dylan, if you're still here. To resequence the line items, see how my numbers have gotten away with me? I've been using this estimate to do a lot of training lately. So I'm at line item number 536, which is ridiculous. To reset that so it doesn't look so crazy, you're going to want to go over to report or documents, and then reports. So I'm using X1. So if you're using version 28, reports is in the top right corner. And you want to click this little hyperlink right here, resequence line numbers. So write that down because it's not very intuitive. It's a weird, set of words there. But resequence your line numbers will go ahead and make sure your line item list doesn't look insane like mine did. And now we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 instead of 536. Yup. So if you're in version 28, the reports button is over here on the right. In X1, they moved it onto the blue ribbon under documents and then reports. So great question. Awesome. I love answering questions. One more thing I wanted to show you besides saving, if you need to edit, I would highly recommend that you avoid using this edit tool. Do not use this tool right here where it says macros, edit. By the way, for any beginners, just in case, your search bar usually shows up with your reference photos here. That's what's usually showing. You have to click on macros right there and on my screen to get to this section. They don't just automatically show up. Okay. So this is our macros, and you just double click to add, but avoid the edit. Going back to what I was saying, avoid this edit screen. when you use this edit screen, I don't know about you, but I'm really, I'll call myself detail oriented. Let's say I hate it when things get out of order and like my notes get detached and everything gets all crazy. So I can't handle it when my felt is like at the bottom of the estimate. It needs to be up with the shingles and everything else. So if I was to add a new line item, let's say renail, I want that to kind of be in my sheathing area. I can't add it directly where I need it to go. It's just going to go to the bottom of the list, or it might go randomly somewhere else. Recently, the macros have been acting really wacky in X1. And that's why I don't like this edit tool. I have no control over where it goes in the order of operations there. Also, if I want to add a note, sometimes the note gets detached and goes to the bottom of the estimate. So it's really not a very great tool for editing. What I would recommend is you build yourself a macro estimate, one that you just play around in. Go into that estimate. In fact, I think I have one that I was showing earlier. Or let's see. And what I would do is just go ahead and create an estimate where you can play and mess everything up and it won't matter. And you do your edits there in the macro. And so I just open a new estimate and start building my new macro. Or if I already have a macro, let's say we want to find one for siding that we want to edit, maybe my fiber cement board siding, if I can spell siding right. Or let's say paint wood siding, that's fine. So I've got this macro here that has everything that I need, except for I need to sandblast or do something heavy. I don't know, something to, take off more paint. So I'd add that line item. And then what I do is I save a new macro with a date. So I always know that the most up-to-date macro is the newest and best one. So this would be siding paint April 21. Then whenever I go in and want to add the macro, I know that it's the newest and best one. When I make future edits, I will go ahead and go back to the other macro that I just created or just edited, and I would delete it off. So I don't like to keep a lot of old macros hanging around. I keep my macros pretty cleaned up. So I would add it to just a dummy estimate, make the changes, save the new macro, delete the old guy off, get him out of there. And that's the best way to do it. Because this edit tool, man, you can really do some damage to your beautiful little macros if, because it just doesn't, that edit tool is no good. So I would recommend just going ahead and write, hey, tonight, no, maybe tomorrow when you're working on estimates, you find one that is really well written, you go ahead and start saving some of these macros for yourself. Or if you find a note, that you need to insert in your macro, go start a basic estimate and then just throw that in there, add the note real quick and save yourself the new macro. You're like, that was a good piece of, IRC code or whatever that you found, that you can go ahead and just throw that in there and save yourself a new macro, and then it's there forever as a note. So yeah, cool. Let me read some of the questions here. Yeah. Oh, Dylan, I have a webinar coming up this Thursday. Anyone who's interested in attending the webinar, I'm going to be talking about my big university. That includes my macro list, by the way. I give that to all of my training students. All of our members get that full list. Anyways, all that to say, if you are interested in attending the webinar this Thursday, shoot me an email at Alena, ALENA, at xm8mastery.com. I'll be talking about the #1 mistake contractors make in Xactimate. And that's this Thursday at 3 p.m. Central. So if you want to shoot me an email, I'll reply with the registration link. You can get signed up to, and I'm going to talk about the course. We do have openings going on for the university right now. Second question. Oh, thank you, Daniel. Excellent. David, glad you're here. Yeah, thanks, Daniel. I love talking to adjusters, love talking to contractors. Marie, you have a question. Upgrade code means the insurance will pay at the roof. Okay. Yeah. So for example, with ice and water, if it doesn't exist on the roof right now, we are doing a code upgrade because that roof was built before the code existed. But now code is in place. And because we're doing a repair or replacement of the roof, we now have to bring that roof up to code and to today's standards, for energy specifications, all the reasons, just so ice dams don't form. All kinds of reasons that we need to do code upgrades. Now, the code upgrade actually should not be paid out until the work is complete. So don't be surprised if on a pre-repair supplement, an adjuster denies your code items. Are like, oh, we can't pay for those. Okay, Mr. Adjuster, That's fine. But when I do the work and I show evidence that those items have been installed and then we installed that ice and water shield, now the cost has been incurred because the repair is complete. That's actually when code upgrade items are technically owed by the insurance company. So a post-repair supplement sometimes, Marie, might be necessary to pick up some of these items that they maybe don't want to pay on the front end, but that's the thought process behind it. Didn't exist before, need to upgrade it to today's code standards. And that goes for insulation. That goes for so many things. Even the color of your roof, if you're in Denver, Colorado, you have to, what is it, heat island. You have to adhere to their code now. So all kinds of fun things. Yep. So hopefully that's helpful to you, Mari. Yep. And a great question from Dylan. Can you import the GAF quick measure into Sketch? Not yet, Dylan. They only have Eagle View, but Hover has recently come online. So go Google Hover. And that's another alternative to Eagle View, a little bit easier to import than Eagle View. But no, the GAF quick measure isn't. I don't know if they're in talks or not either, but it's not available yet. So yeah, Paul, can you submit the code and number with the original estimate? I'm not really sure if you could clarify a little bit what you're talking about there, but I submit the code. I'll show you my note. Where's my, there it is. Okay, so going back to that other estimate I was on with the code. Yeah, so what I do is I put in here and I'll show you. And actually, if you are going to receive my macro, if you text time to that number down below, you should have all the code, some codes already added to that macro for you. But I quote the 20. This one's 20. I think this is 2015 on this one, and I tell them our IRC usually 2015, and then I would quote the code exactly. And I did all that research because if you set yourself up for success on the front end. Man, me using this 5 times a day to write, estimates for contractors, it was total service to myself, all the time saving and all the money too that I made them by getting these line items paid because I included the why there for them. Yeah. Cool. Excellent questions tonight, guys. I don't usually get this many questions. This is awesome. Someone's knocking on my door, so I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. Be sure to text time down below if you'd like to receive that macro and to that number. Thanks for coming, guys. I'll be back next week with a brand new topic. I'm actually going to be releasing some new videos. So be here next week if you want another giveaway and some more training. And then, okay, if you want to sign up for the webinar, email me at alina@xm8mastery.com and I will send you those registration links. All right, guys, have a good week and we'll see you next time.